what's in 10.2? Now I'm going to go through all this stuff very quickly, but these slides will all be up on the website afterwards, so if there's anything you're more interested in, you can come back to it. Well, I guess some of the things are, it's the first all 64-bit architecture, including metrics, the whole lot. It's got support for Chrome and Safari for all your mobile stuff. Notice I put runtime there. It's the basic consumer, enhanced consumer studios, not the more advanced design studios, which we still assume will be done back at base. There's a new dynamic cube source, which I had a quick play, and I'll come back to that in a minute. And there's tab workspace, freeze panes, a couple of nifty new features being put in. And just to keep the world on your toes, they've renamed all the studios. That's what the welcome page looks like. Looks exactly the same as everything else. You will notice a few new names up there. If you're on 10, it's exactly the same before. The top one I think used to be called Insight. The second one used to be called Insight Advanced. And now they're called Workspace and Workspace Advanced. But basically, under the bonnet, it's still the same thing. And the third one down, which says Create a Workspace on my computer, is that thing called Insight. Now, I've got a full list of what they're all called. If you want to see that, and you can download it. There's a few environmental changes. One thing you may notice is there's no TM1 or Cognos Planning 10.1, but actually 10.2 seamlessly integrated with both of those, so you can have 10.2 equal planning 10.1 or TM1 10.1. There's a few little minor things like SQL 2012 being added, and a few other things have been dropped. So before considering an upgrade, it's always important to look for this support environments list to make certain that all the things you've got are in it. You just Google that, and you get it. They've also tied up with the licenses. They need a degree in IBM licensing. And tried to standardise on the basic licenses. You may be familiar with recipient and consumer. But if it starts to be an enhanced consumer that gets to use the workspace, that's the sort of fancy dashboard thing which you can basically draw bits out of other people's reports. So that allows sort of basic users to customise their content without really needing to know how to write a report. Then the next lot of sort of intermediate studios, they're all advanced business author. So if you get that, you get to use all the other ones, and then finally BI Professional gets to do all the difficult stuff, all the professional reports and all the things that are more used on a regular basis. Right, there's always a question, or people ask me, is that OLAP, that's cubes in ordinary speak. There's now 4 OLAP offerings, just to keep things really confusing. There's OOR, which once upon a time is called DMR, that's the one that you can just build from Framework Manager. It's very easy to use, but it's very limited, so I generally say avoid that one. And then there's this new thing called dynamic cubes, which has a limited plane, which does actually have proper, it's got some materialized views operating behind it. So that, this dynamic cubes, this new thing, will allow you to build really large cubes and do in-memory performance enhancements. Unfortunately, there's no integration whatsoever. It just starts, you have to start all your modeling from scratch. It has its own designer. Maybe they'll improve that in the future, so probably one's got on the back burner for just now. Transformer, that's always been my favourite. Everybody will do. Long-lived Transformer, it continues probably to be the easiest and default choice. Finally, if you are really got a really high volume or complex processing requirement, the Rolls Royce, of course, is TM1. But if in doubt, Transform is probably the choice. You'll need to be aware that to use a 64-bit mode, there's a hidden setting. But you need to set 64-bit mode to default to 32. And you also need to be careful that if you've got a mixture of 32-bit and 64-bit sources, you'll need to set up a 32-bit and a 64-bit system. It's dead easy to do, and the instructions are behind here will be on the website. And the other thing you'll need to do is set up the JDBC connections, which is the second tab which you may not want to do, but you'll now need to do it. It does involve copying a jar file, but it's pretty easy. You just Google again, set up Oracle JDBC connection for Cognos, and it tells you how to do it. So, that's 10.2 left, so you're all experts now. Back. You can't leave yet because I think it's the last demo of the day when you actually get to see. Right. You can see that I've been sort of playing Chris's things ruthlessly and threats that BI stability and how to neutralise them. So, what are these threats? Infrastructure failure, we probably all know about that, we talk about resilience and stuff. However, probably more realistic threats, environmental change and upgrades, just like I said, 10.2. When you change something, there's always a risk that something goes wrong. And of course, there's new business requirements change, that means you put changes in, and there's a risk of disruption there. But probably the biggest threat of all is users. They may use the system speculative, or they may just use it poorly. They may design the reports poorly, or do stupid things like try and dump the entire database into a detailed report. So what can we do about it? Well, probably looking at users and performance first, Cognos Audit, if you haven't already got that, is a great thing. It records every report and query, and it reports the execution time and the outcome. And it's really easy to set up. Contrary to rumours, you do not need any XML. There is one XML feed, but all the reports I'm going to show you don't use it. And you get results from Cognos. So I'd just like to say thanks to Robert Neural from AG Barrachd. He provided the next report I'm going to show you. But basically, he said when he started at AG Barrachd, from my point in IT, I was faced with a system that's slow today. Can you do something about it? It was coming at him from both his bosses and the business. However, all the basic checks on the server showed everything was fine. The audit packages gave him the ammunition he needed to do something about it, to the extent there are now no complaints about performance at AG Barrachd. Barrachd did some fixes, and then we started targeted training here aimed at the people with the slow reports. Because now that we knew that everybody else was getting reports fast, we could target the users with the slow reports. The trouble is, if you're writing a slow, poorly designed report, that's going to be using a lot of processing power, and that's going to be adversely affecting all your other good users. So I'm just going to click. Yeah, this is a very simple report. Basically, they've got two servers here. That's just showing you how the load balancing is working, and if that seems to be working okay. Execution times, since we've already simmered over the two servers. And let's go and have a look at failure rates. Okay, we've got a fairly good green success count. There's still a small red bit in there. So we go along there, and failure causes. Well, have a look at there. You can see there's a big blue bit there, which is user cancel. And underneath there's a light blue bit which says reports to no fault. So what that tells me is that users are cancelling a lot of reports. Now, that could just be they're making a mistake, realise they put the wrong parameter in, they're cancelling it, or maybe it means that the report's taking too long, so they're giving up. So maybe we need to do an analysis on that. And the reports to no fault indicates that they're actually having problems when they're developing a new report. Right. Goes that one. Go on to the next one. So we then had a look to see when this is a performance report. As you can see it there, and this is basically showing the number of runs and the average execution time and the failure count, which I think is coming off the screen. But basically, what it shows is that you're getting these very strong peaks and troughs. You're getting getting busy periods of activity, and then nothing much going on. And you can probably get started like on Monday. So there's another more detailed view of that, which is slightly easier to see. So there you go. There's your. That's February divided by the day of the week. So you can see, typically you get massive peak. Everybody comes in at 9 o'clock, runs reports. And you can see that the execution times do spike a bit. And there's a really weird spike at the end of Tuesday. So somebody's running something terrible on Tuesday nights. So basically it gives you some ammunition to have a look at. And you can see that for some reason there seems to be a drop in performance on Monday afternoons. So no idea what's going on Monday afternoons. But it starts giving us an idea of what's going on in our system. It goes out to the individual report, but this is where the real benefit comes in. You can see I've got all the key reports there, how long they're taking, and also how often they're taking to. The brown line is how often they're being run. So I can see a couple of slow reports up there that are being used a lot of times. Possibly they're the ones to have a look at, and maybe improve the design of them. So to protect the guilty, of course, I haven't said who's running them, I've just said what the name of the report is. So that's Cognos Audit. Now, the next thing, of course, that happens is that users have accidents. They delete reports, or they break them, and then they phone us up and say, oh, it was working yesterday, can you hit it back for me? So basically, hopefully, as well as your database, all the reports are stored in content store, that's probably getting backed up by IT, hopefully. But as well as that, you can do your own Cognos backups, which has no IT involvement, and also you can do selective restore. So basically, I can go back to one of those backups, just pull out probably the folder, I think is the most detailed, and I can go back at any point in time. Because what I've done, there's an example backup strategy. What I've actually done is I've set one backup for each day of the week. So you can go back up to 5 days, but also every Friday I do a separate backup, that's 1 to 5. And all this is just using a standard Cognos scheduling. So you do that and you should be able to restore the users. Again, there's full instructions behind it. When you bring it back, it is very important. I've set that, those backups in a special way so that you actually get the individual folders. But what I've highlighted, the fact that pencil, is that you can actually change the restore location. So you do not overwrite existing reports. So I can go into there and say, I want to get back the order reports. I want to put them into my restore folder to avoid backing up. Be very careful when doing this. Don't do this at home, as they say in the kids' programs, because you could destroy lots of data. Probably better to restore that into a UAT system, find the report that they're looking for, and then pop it back. Okay, let's move on to upgrade and change continuity. This is where a lot of the risks come in. Hopefully you'll have separate developments in UAT environments in addition to your live environment. That is quite important. Your UAT environment is almost a bit like a system integration test. It should be running at all times. And we're going to be using, I'm going to show you how you can use the UAT environment to compare against your live environment to check that all the changes we're just about to put live don't upset what's happening already. And hopefully we'll have change control, version management, impact assessment, and regression testing, which all sounds like a lot of hard work, but actually it's quite easy. What I'm going to do there is show you very quickly the impact assessment using Framework Manager. So if I've got one opened here already. Now supposing I'm going in here and I've got quantity and I want to change that. It's quantity is too vague, I want to change this to quantity boarding. What's the impact of that? Tools, find report depending, search. And that tells me that if I change that, those two reports are going to be affected. So I can see immediately what I need to do. If it came back with 100 reports, I think I'm not changing it. If it came back with just 2, because it's a test example, I think, okay, I can look at that, I'll make that change. However, that does not get you into transformer and cube references, which is a little complex, but there is something else which you can use. And it's a sort of hidden Cognos tool. There's 7.2 here. And it is impact assessment tool. It's actually called Dynamic Report Specification Updater. What this tool does is it will actually let you do global files and replace on your entire content store. It will also completely destroy your content store. So once again, don't try this at home. Please use it on your AT system. So what I can do here is, first of all, I better put it into the right system. I'll just connect up. Okay, it even gives you a warning that you could destroy something. I can select, say, public folders, this is what I'm looking for. I can load a transformation, you have to store them in XML, which I've given full instruction on how to do, and then you run it. And what that search thing there is actually looking for the individual cube reference for London in Go sales. And you can see at the bottom there, it says number of transformations performed, 1. So it's found in one report. So supposing I start to restructure the data, and I was going to split London into 4 bits, there's only one report that I need to fix. So that is impact assessment using Framework Manager and using the DRU as it's called, and that's what you have to search for. Well, you see, just in case anything went wrong, I packed everything up. There's the slides what I just showed you. There's an example of XML, and there's a bit of a log file that tells you which file it was, London report. So it had the reference there. Right, so the next thing is life cycle manager. Now this is something that it does regression testing. So what this will allow you to do is, we've made lots of wonderful changes, we put them all into UAT, but we want to make quite certain that what we're going to do isn't going to mess up all the reports there already. So what this will do is compare UAT with the live system. You can also use a Cognos job to do this, but this one is more automated. So I'm just going to show you. So there's a little in here, little programs, also in Cognos 10.2. Sorry, it's the Cognos Lifecycle Manager. Let's just go into here, and I just start it up. Open a project. So I'll just do that. Lifecycle Manager, just tested. And what this has, if you can see up there, it's got 4 sort of steps. You run the report, you validate, so you check the actual report's work in the source. You validate, you then run them, so you actually get the outputs. You then do the same on the target, which is your, so you say, I'm going to move it to the live system, you do the same on the live system, and finally at the bottom, you do an output comparison. So if I look at that, you'll see I've got a partial success. So if I drill down to this, it will tell me that the fail is in the orders area. So if I drill down into that, we've got differences on that. Now what I can do is click on this option here, which is pretty obscurely hidden, click on status, there's the differences, and I'm going to have a look at it. I'm afraid this is a bit They choose grey on grey, so it's a bit difficult to see. But I can highlight the differences. If I tick that, anything that's the same disappears. And what you can see there is that 2 rows are different. Now, when I looked at that, I discovered that when I upgraded my report from 10.1 to 10.2, the actual sort order changed. But I hadn't specified a source order on my report, so I guess it was coming up in a random order. It's now coming up in a different random order. But that very quickly shows there's a difference. Now, that difference might be important, or in this case, it might not be important. So there again, I've backed up just in case it didn't work. Oh yes, I talked about having changes logs and version control. Changes log doesn't really have to be particularly complicated. This is an example changes log. All it does is it's a text file that sits on the server. So that's a text file. There's no excuse for anybody not updating it. It doesn't need Excel or anything like that. You can just edit it. And example version control, don't need anything more complicated than that really, just simple folders with a version release number, that will do. And basically that will tie back to the last changes log, which has got the version number in it. And in my changes log, I also had a change request reference. So basically I can see which change reference it came from, and it needs no special software, no special training. And for most cases, it will do the business. And then the final thing is resilient infrastructure. I think we're all fairly aware of that. There's many things to consider. You can have grid databases. You can have multiple servers. One of the things you have to watch, of course, is you've got things like the ETL processes and the cube designs. What happens to them if one of them falls over, breaks? And once again, there's no point in having resilient infrastructure if you're doing testing. So there's a whole scoring there, which if you can download it and give yourself a score for how well you do on your change resilience, if you so wish. But let's take questions now.